Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for the people who have subscribed in the last week or so. It's suddenly jumped up by 10 or something ridiculous. I don't know what's happening, so maybe YouTube has unstuck their subscriber count or something on my channel. This week we have 3 radios, or 2 radios and a compact cassette recorder, as it was once called. The first one is a Sony CF 200B. This is the Australian model, which doesn't have FM in it. It just has shortwave, as you'll see. Then we move on to the Healing 5, which I did last week. A little bit of progress on that, but one step forward, 2 steps back, as it were. And then we finish up with a little Sanyo radio, 2-band jobby. It runs on D cells, of all things. I've had to cut this week off a little bit because I have to go away all of a sudden down to my old stamping ground of Portland and maybe pick up a radio, very special radio. Hopefully it is in as good a condition as I hope it is. He says it's got all the bits and pieces or anything like that. I don't want him to post it through, given what I'm going to pay for it. But yeah, we'll see how we go with that. But I'll be away for about 3 days. I'm going to visit friends and stay down there. So I'll have a mini break, as they like to say in Europe. Okay, so I'll speak to you soon, or maybe next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe. All those people who haven't, I know people are not subscribing because I can see the number of views compared to the number of subscribers. So it's not that hard to press the subscribe button. Okay, thank you, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye. This is a Sony CF200B. It's the Australian model and it doesn't have FM. It just has medium wave and shortwave. Now, I've got no intention of fixing this at the moment, but I was curious to see whether it worked or not, and it didn't. So of course I went a bit further and discovered that this wire had come off. I thought initially why it wasn't working was something to do with this, which is has been ripped off of the plate off of here. You're supposed to unscrew this to get this off, but it obviously hasn't been. So this has a reed switch down the bottom and a little switch inside, and when you plug in the plug, it connects up the reed switch to make it AC. Now this had been well and truly ripped off, which is why it wasn't working, and it went down to there. And I also wanted to investigate whether or how this came apart. And as far as I can see, there's only one screw in here, and I don't know whether that just lifts up or everything. There's a lot of wires down here. This has even been strung onto the board, this big lot of wires. I'll just bring you down. As you can see, there's a lot of wiring in here. This machine was probably made around about 1970, 71. So it's quite ancient by radio cassette standards. And it's also quite small for the time, as Sony was wont to do. The motor mounts are actually rock hard. I haven't seen that before. There's another bunch of wires. There's about 8 wires there. They go across to various parts. Solder underneath it. So I'm very reluctant to take this apart to change the caps on it. But it does work. So what I'm going to do is just extend this wire a little bit. This other bit of hookup wire to there, and then I'll demonstrate it working. Okay, I've done that. I've attached this. It's obviously going to need a lot more work. The battery springs here, I don't know what you call these, but yeah, they're all green. The foam is absolutely turning to powder as usual. So I did put a bit of heat shrink on this, but it won't go over the join. So I've just patched this up with a bit of sticky tape temporarily so it doesn't short out. Curiosity got the better of me, and I took the 3 screws out. So there was one there, and one there. And this does lift up, but the microphone and the remote and the monitor or speaker, that is hooked underneath the chassis for the cassette deck here. So that won't come up easily without taking the cassette deck chassis out, as far as I can see. Yep. Oh no, that unhooks from there, and will this come out? Yep. So I should be able to get to, there's a considerable number of electrolytics under here. The belt is quite loose, but it is good. Yeah, it's got numbers on it. That's very strange. And is there a date code? 22470. Yeah, it is quite loose, the belt, but that's not a problem. Now, I think I might be able to get to most of the capacitors if I'm careful. There's a lot of fiddling around. Yeah. Yep, I should be able to get to that. I'll show you underneath here. So that is about as far as it goes. There's it's about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, there's about 20 capacitors under there. In fact, it is mostly capacitors. There's actually a switch there, which, oh, okay. So that will have to go back over there and somehow down into there. Yep. All good. Now let's fire up the power supply. Attach this to here. And the other end to the positive. Go there. As I said, I'm not going to do anything with this until I can get a replacement. Probably a modern one, because this is one of those original square ones. And we'll see how we go. It's really good sensitive radio.
Time recorded. It's very close for third, Mr. Blue. For a long way. He's sharpened right up his last couple of runs up the straight. They've been getting better and better. Wait, the photo finish between the 1 and the 5 for third.
And I don't know whether you can see the flywheel or not, but that is turning. So it's working quite well. And this just works beautifully. Sony always did make very good cassette recorders and tape recorders. Okay, so that is that one finished for now. I'll have to try and find a schematic. They're pretty, I haven't found one for this particular model. So I'll just have, I assume that this power supply and amplifier and everything like that for the, that could be the shortwave section. And maybe an FM section slots in there as well. Take that out and slot the FM section in. Yeah, so all this, which is probably straight out of a cassette recorder, just plain one. So that would be this part down here. They would have moved the motor around or something like that. Where the speaker is, or maybe, I don't know, just have this part here. I would imagine this is pretty standard, this board. Okay, so I'll button it all up. I've proven to myself that it is worth fixing. So we'll move on to the Healing 5 from last week. Okay, so I've got some batteries in the back of it. We'll see if this works.
I think if you got $1.40, you'd bet. No. 7, 5 and
don't think so. $1.22 into $1.12 today. In fixed odds, $1.50 in favour on the tape. Cranbourne the first in 3 minutes. And the boxers for the feature at Hughesville. And Darramine 269, number 2 Zapier 381.
Okay, so it seems like the
Cordello 3690, Exacta 6970.
I can't find the cover for this. Where do I put it? Alright, so we know it works, and I'll put a tape in it just for interest. So at the back of it, this is obviously missing its trim strip along there, and it also has a couple of cracks in the bottom which I've just discovered, as well as some inside the cassette well. But we'll see how we go with this old BASF tape. And ooh, that's quite a violent opening. We'll slot this in and we'll see if it plays. I get the batteries.
The supervisory force during the election.
United Nations official Cedric Thornberry, speaking in June, confirmed those reports.
The Kufut elements were supposed to have been disbanded and removed from the existing police force, but that doesn't appear to have happened. And we are, I'm sorry to say, receiving a number of complaints of extremely intimidatory police activity in the north, the use of heavy mine-proof but also armored vehicles with heavy caliber weaponry on them, and a regrettably large number of plainly undisciplined and unprofessional police acts.
In August, the South African Administrator General confined 1,200 Kufut to bases, but SWAPO says about 800 Kufut remain unaccounted for. There can be little doubt about the history of South African oppression in Namibia, but what will SWAPO do differently? I asked Marco Hausiku what kind of economic system he envisions for Namibia.
After independence, even if not an immediate turn, but then we should think of a system which will at least respect the majority of the Namibian people.
Things never change, do they? Coups and in Africa. When will they ever learn? Okay. Yes, we'll put this one away. Next we have this Healing 5. Let's move these. I've had some success with this, but yeah, seems to be, well, not a lost cause. What I did was I got 3 valves for it, the 3 valves, and the 6BM8, the 6BM8, which is this one here, that crackled and popped when I put it in. It made a gurgling noise, sort of really distorted sort of gurgling noise. Well, they could still understand what the people were saying, and then it's just sort of faded to nothing. So I put the other one back in, and it seems to be working okay, but it's not, well, it's not making that distortion as before. The 2200 ohm resistor, which I pointed out last time, that is really high now. It's 4,000 ohms, and I have ordered another couple of 1,100s, I think. I can't remember, I ordered so much stuff. Anyway, that is coming on its way from America, so that'll be here within the week. I've also had some success with the tuning and oscillator gang. So it was this end plate here that was bent, and it was bent right down underneath. So I just simply bent this back a bit, and it seems to be working just dandy. So I've been able to align it properly. It still has all that really bad hissing noise, so it's sort of like a really bad tape recorder with the background noise on it. So we'll wait and see what the resistor does, and when I see the person, our valve bank person, again I'll swap the other one of these for another one, which I'll contact him and tell him to bring one at the next meeting, and we'll see how we go with it. But for now, it's a bit of a lost cause. It's beginning to sound a little bit better too. It's not quite the horrible radio that I thought it was, because it is picking up 774 down in Melbourne and Radio National down there to a lesser degree. It's not quite intelligible over the background noise. Anyway, let's move on to our next radio for this week. Right, this one is one which I found in a box, and it is, I don't know where I got it from, to be honest. I must have had it for many years, because it's not actually mine. I thought it was, because I had one very similar when I was young, and I thought I might have hit the jackpot and found it. This one has Mrs. Watson written on the back of it. It is a bit dusty, and it does tune. You can see that. And it actually works too. But the volume control is pretty bad. As is that switch. Well, it was working before. There we go.
Our story was written, recorded, and produced.
Reach links down the tack, kicks towards Hale forward, Levers underneath, given to enough to hang on to the mark in the eyes of the umpire. McDonald's for
It's Sharma's last in front from My Word Is. Sharma's last the favourite, drawing clear over the concluding stages. And
I don't know how the Japanese managed to get their radio sounding so tinny back in the late 60s.
the bow was back with the tail ender. Odds on favourite home, Sharma.
There's absolutely no bass. It does have shortwave, and it does have a shortwave antenna, which I'll show you. If I can do this quickly. Yep. And yeah, it's actually quite a long one, but it doesn't seem to tilt or move at all. It just goes up and down. So the station would need to be vertically orientated for that to work properly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take this apart, take the batteries out. There's of course the dreaded powder foam, or the foam that turns to dust. Let's see if we can get this piece of cardboard out without damaging it. Now, what I need to do, looks like there's a screw there. Another screw there. Screw, oh no, that's not the one. There's one there. Maybe, I think it might be the non-painted screws. Or is it? And that one looks like it's, oh no, that's attached to the metal work. Okay. So I'll unscrew that and be back in a second. Okay, so that was slightly more difficult than I thought, mainly because of two things. One was my incompetence, and I actually unscrewed the dial, but fortunately it went back together. With a bit of manipulation. Actually, I should have left that off for a moment. Gee, there's three. So there's that one, and there was another one behind there somewhere. Because this capacitor is soldered underneath this bar here. Okay, so let's have a look at this switch for a start. So I'll just spray some gunk into it. I shouldn't say gunk. This stuff is becoming very, very expensive here. It's currently $70 a can, and it's only going to get worse. A funny feeling. Yeah, okay. And the other thing was, to get this out, you have to unscrew this from the bottom. Well, I was about to desolder that, and then I realised that there'd be a screw through the bottom. That was all. No, I was going to do the volume control too, wasn't I? Now the volume control is pretty disgustingly dirty. There's my brushes. So we'll clean this off first, and I'm not sure how to get the oh, I see, yep. The switch is exposed, but not the be careful of that one, Andrew, but not the wiper. This must have been a bedroom radio or something. A lot of fluff in here. Actually, it looks pretty good design. There's only the one on the bottom, the electrolytic on the bottom. That out of the way. One there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. So what's that? 6. And that's a 33. Don't know what that one is. Can't see what that one is easily. This one seems to be a can't read that one either from here. That's down in there. 4.7 and 4.7 and 47. So they're all fairly, and they're Rubicon caps too, which surprises me. That's 100. So I've got all those, as common as mud. I may as well go ahead and recap it, I think. This radio is worth anything. In particular, well, it's certainly picking up the lights and all the other electrical stuff in here.
It's 40. Yes. Said the distorted emission goes in for second. This was well supported first up at 1200 and probably just found that a bit sharp.
Okay. Return. What I want is my contact cleaner, and we'll spray this switch. And the wiper sounds quite clean. Which it didn't before. So, as I can't get into it easily, without actually taking it all apart, I'm going to leave it and recap it, and we'll see how it performs after a recap. Right, so here's the damage. There should be another capacitor. I'll test those in a minute and see how bad they are. But as I said, they are Rubicons, which is pretty amazing. They're usually Elners in these. But it is working. There's too much interference around today because I've put the heating on. It's strange because it doesn't seem to be working as well as it did before the recap. So I'll have to have a look at that. Maybe I put a cap in the wrong way round or something like that inadvertently, But we'll wrap this up here, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and don't forget to hit the bell button to get notified each week when I release a video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.